Hey guys, what's up? It's Vodka here again with another video. And this time it's going to be a video on the 2025 retrospective on what happened this past year. 2025 was supposed to be the year of the Shoto for me. And for some reason I decided that I want to learn how to play Shotos better, like Ryu or Ken in fighting games. Because typically I just played mostly, I guess, Zangief for people without fireballs or dragon punches. And I wanted to learn how to actually use a Shoto character because they are one of the iconic characters of Street Fighter and they're a huge defining characters archetype of this genre. And going back looking at some of my replays in Fightcade, and I didn't actually remember, but I started with Alpha 3 and I was playing some A Ryu and I completely forgot that I even tried to play A Ryu. I played him for a couple of weeks, but eventually I moved on to using A Ken. And A Ken was kind of a fun character. I guess maybe Riz told me to use Ken. And just hitting that medium Shoyu, it just feels so good, you know? If you don't know, just play out some Alpha 3 and do that medium Shoyu. It just feels so good to hit that. So I started to play A Ken because wasn't sure I wanted to play V Ken. His customs are kind of janky and I just wanted to, I guess, learn the basics without having to worry about the customs or anything. And I played him for a few months, really. Just doing mostly the basics: fireball, dragon punch, just spacing, knowing when to throw fireballs, when not to throw fireballs, and doing some basic confirms like short into rep up. And I got a little okay with him, getting a little better with the footsies, and ultimately during half the year I moved on to a V Akuma, V Goki. And that's the character that I actually wanted to learn because he looked like he was a lot of fun. I was watching versions, custom videos, and V Goki's video. I'm watching him. I'm like, man, this character looks like a lot of fun, and I want to try to do that stuff. And it took a while. I just been grinding out his customs because his customs are a lot more peculiar compared to Zangief's customs. Zangief's customs are pretty simple if you think about it. Besides the OTG, most of it is doing like the same thing over and over again. It's very stable on all the characters and there's no particular situations you have to be aware of. You just kind of go in and do them. So the only OTG is the tricky thing with Zangief. But Goki also has an OTG and his OTG is actually a bit harder to do. The timing is a lot trickier and it took a lot of practice, and I think I'm finally get to the level where I'm pretty consistent, at least to like 80-90% consistency with it, maybe, at least on the characters that are easy to OTG. And just practicing his customs, this is a lot of fun. I've been playing them a lot, and also with Capcom Fighting Collection 2, I've been able to play that. Even though it's upper, Goki more or less plays the same. He doesn't have that much crouch cancel stuff. Some of the stuff he has it for optimal damage, but most of his customs don't require it. He doesn't have an infinite or anything, so you can still play him more or less the same. So V Goki, a lot of fun. I've been playing him. On the topic of other games, CVS2, of course you know this channel, I cover a lot of CVS2. I've been playing a lot of CVS2, and yeah, I've been practicing a lot because that game is another game like Alpha 3, requires a lot of practice, a lot of dedicated practice to make sure you don't drop your customs, like Boss said. Don't drop your effing customs is what Boss likes to say, and you have to practice. And I've been struggling with Dictator's Pink Defense from player 1's side, and I just sat down and grinded that out, and hopefully I think I've gotten to pretty good consistency with it. But I still, again, I gotta keep practicing that, make sure I don't drop my customs, because A Groove is all about that meter and landing your customs. That's the only way to win. If you waste your meter, you don't get anything out of your customs, then yeah, you're really gonna struggle. And also being situation aware, working on a lot of situation awareness, how to punish things, optimally punishing Dictator's block double knee. I see still a lot of new players not punishing that. You need to be punishing that and optimizing on how to punishing it. Just practicing a lot of optimal punishes and situations. The last thing is working on spacing, making sure you're not in a bad position. Just like the quote from Karate Kid from Miyagi, Mr. Miyagi, he was saying, "No, be there." It's actually more important than you might think. Being in the bad space and where you have a lot of things to think about. For example, being in the space where they can jump over you or roll behind you is a bad space to be in CVS2, and you just don't want to be there. So no, be there. That's the important takeaway of 2025. Another takeaway of 2025 for CVS2 is don't get too thirsty and you're fighting too much. fighting too much when you don't have meter, fighting too much when they have meter, being very meter conscious, knowing when to fight, when to pull back. That's also very important. Another thing that I've been working on a lot during this past year. All right, switch the topic a little bit. We'll go into tournaments. 2025, I didn't actually play in that many tournaments this year, mostly because I've been busy, I guess, running tournaments. But I still enjoy playing tournaments, and I did play in some. For example, in Magitech games that we're lucky enough to have this year that really became kind of our home base in NorCal here to play games. We held Gridlock with Boss here playing some CVS. It was a local. Unfortunately, not as many people came out as we have liked, but still people came out and it was a fun tournament. Even these monthlies are very fun, as Boss likes to say. We need to do more of these monthlies just so we have something on the line to play. So we're playing under pressure, and it's just when you're playing under pressure, even for like not a serious tournament or anything, it's still different than playing casually. And you want to be in that right mindset when playing these games. When you're actually playing, I guess, on the big stage, you're kind of more used to the decision makings in a more pressure environment. Also, Mag West, we held that again in Santa Clara this year. That was a lot of fun. Again, we were holding Alpha 2, Alpha 3, and CVS 2. Again, Boss was here. That was a lot of fun tournament. A lot of hype matches in that one. And as for online matches, I did play in a CVS 2 TNS online for Capcom Fighting Collection 2. That was an interesting experience because it was online. It was kind of jank, but it was still fun, and I'm glad a lot of people got to see what real CVS 2 is. Even though it was online, there was a lot of drops and stuff. But they got to see CVS 2 a lot of eyeballs seen, and I'm glad more people can play it because of Capcom Fighting Collection 2. And finally, yesterday, it was the last month, this month's December 2025 retro card that Riz has been running. He's been running one every month, and this was the last one, which was Alpha 3. I played in that one. That was also a lot of fun, and it just got uploaded, so go watch that tournament if you haven't seen it live. Now for the tournaments that we are hosted, what do we host? We hosted Genesis X2 beginning of last year. Genesis, we ran 3 games in this year's Genesis, and that was ST, Street Fighter 3, and CVS. That was a lot of stuff to be running, I guess, in one day. That's why I didn't play in any of the tournaments, because we were commentating, we were running the streams, we were running the tournaments. It was a lot of work, but ultimately I think it was a good time. We had some traveling people from SoCal come up, and I'm really grateful for them coming up, and it was a great tournament. And we'll be running it again in a couple of months for 2026 Genesis X3. Also, Texas Showdown. We were at Texas Showdown again. That was Texas Showdown is always a good time, and especially for these older games. They really pay a lot of attention and give it a lot of spotlight to these older games, and that was a lot of fun. We did have a lot of learnings coming out of that tournament. I know we struggled a little bit with some of our streams and our audio, but we did learn a lot from running that event, and that's helped us to make our future production much better. We'll get into that a little bit later on the streaming tech. Also, CAX, California Extreme, in Santa Clara every year, every summer. That's the pinball arcade convention that they hold here, and we are generally there to hold a tournament in the past few years, and 2025 was no exception. And we ran Hyper Fighting there, which is a stable of CAX, and surprisingly we had a pretty big turnout. It was 60, 70 some people that wanted to play. We didn't expect so many people to show up, so unfortunately we didn't have the amount of setups that we would have liked for that many people. But nevertheless, the tournament was a huge success. We had a lot of people traveling from SoCal up to play. Choi Boy was here to play, ultimately being the winner, and that was a very hyped tournament. We also streamed that one, that was a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll get to do it again next year for CAX. CAX is always a good time. We did partner this year with Jazzy, and we ran one of the Street Fighter 3 Jazzy events at Magitech Games, and that was also cool for meeting all the Street Fighter 3 folks, and that was also a very well ran event. And what else? We also ran Gridlock there, as well as going to Fight Kingdom in Seattle. Fight Kingdom, let me tell you, that was a really fun time. Unfortunately, they're not going to be hosting it again in 2026, but I'm glad we had the chance to partner with them in 2025. And we ran a lot of their games and streamed it. And those guys, their production level is out of this world for such, I guess, a smaller event. They're not like an EVO or a CEO. They don't have that kind of a budget, but their production looked phenomenal. If you haven't seen the tournament footage from Fight Kingdom, I suggest you go to the channel and check out the 2025 tournaments for Fight Kingdom for ST, CVS, Marvel 2. That was a really hype tournament. It's Fight Kingdom. I hope they can maybe figure something out and get it running again, but it's unfortunate that they're unable to run it for 2026, but we'll see what happens in the future. I wouldn't mind partnering with them again and going up to Seattle. Seattle's a great city. I like that city. And of course, Mag West in Santa Clara, we ran that again, and we've been running that for a few years, so that was fun. On the topic of streaming tech and improvements for what we have done for the events, what have we improved? Well, one thing, if you have followed, I've tried to make some improvements as I go along for the dashboards that we run the stream overlays in. I try to optimize everything that we can do. Every time we have an event, I try to see like what worked, what didn't work, and try to just generally make a checklist of things that I go through and how to improve, and I go back and fix it. As well as our audio. So this year, thankfully, our buddy Asian Monkey, he's also into a lot of this streaming stuff, so he has some expertise on audio that we tapped into, and we also try to figure out a lot of stuff with it, and a lot of stuff we didn't know, and we did a lot of research, especially after Texas, to figure out how to optimize our audio. And I think we've gotten the right equipment and the settings from now going forward so that our audio will always be much cleaner and better than it was before. Even for my YouTube videos, I've been working really hard to tweak the audio to make sure it sounds good. I've been going back and forth, and for the lighting, the camera, and the audio, a lot of these little things you wouldn't think about them being hard, but messing it up is really easy, and getting it right is hard, and people don't really understand the work that goes into it. And now that I've been doing it for a while, I can tell when somebody is putting the effort to make their audio sound really good, to make their visual sound really pop. And that's a lot of hard work. A lot of stuff you have to kind of learn from doing and have a lot of knowledge on this stuff. As for YouTube content, what happened in 2025? I did put out a video on CVS2 speed comparison. If you haven't seen that video, you can check it out in one of, I guess, my history videos on the speed of CVS2 running on consoles, on arcades, running on Capcom Fighting Collection 2. The results may surprise you, but a lot of times people keep arguing about the speed, and now we finally have, I guess, actual tests that I ran myself and actual hardware, so we can put the conversation to rest. We can just point to that one. Also, the fighting game beginner 101 series that I've been doing for folks, I've been noticing, I guess a lot of beginners are struggling with the genre. They ask a lot of questions on Reddit, and people give okay advices, some not very good advices, and people just generally not sure what they want to do and how to improve or generally have fun with these games. And I just want to help out these folks to get the most out of their gaming, to like the games like I like them. And sometimes I hate them, or maybe they'll hate them too, but that's besides the point. But these games are fun. Also, stream capture for OSSE, I did get some new equipment for stream capture, and this is a big one for 2025. I went to Japan to try to update their streams, so I did a lot of testing with the equipment for OSSE and bought a lot of equipment. And thank you for the people on the GoFundMe that helped me out. And I took the equipment that I got and went over to Japan and donated it to a lot of their arcades so they can upgrade their streams. They've been running on a lot of old equipment, and their streams are kind of falling apart. Even though their gameplay is top notch and they're the strongest players in the world, their streams are kind of struggling, we've noticed. And in the summer, I traveled there on vacation, and I was able to meet up with a lot of folks there and update their streams. If you look at the GameSpot Versus stream, their ST stream has improved, and they're running with my equipment now, and things looking a lot better. And plus, the guys in Nagoya, I made a side trip to Nagoya specifically to donate the stuff to help them with their CVS2 stream, because they was really struggling for them. You can see they were asking for donations, and I try to help them out. Now their stream looks very crisp, and then they're very grateful. So I'm glad I had the opportunity to go to Japan and also play some games with them. Unfortunately, I only played a few. I didn't have that much time. It was mostly a family vacation. I couldn't just go off by myself. So hopefully next year I'll be able to go back again for maybe a dedicated trip, maybe to a Rolympic, and actually spend some more time to play with those guys, because they're very strong. There's always a lot to be learned from playing those guys. Even though I'll get my butt whooped, I'm sure I will level up just from being in that environment and learning and seeing what they're doing. Also, I made some videos over Riz's channel for his Alpha 3 series where he just goes play some random people. We got some shaky cam footage. I think that's the way it's actually kind of cool series that we've been doing where he'll just play random people. Well, he played Boss this year and Choi. Like it was actually a rematch with Boss and also with Choi. And those are some fun videos. Check those out. And another side video was the Road to Olympic with Asian Monkey, our buddy here in NorCal. So to let the people know that he's one of our buddies playing CVS and he traveled to Japan this year for Olympic. Just wanted to make a little video to introduce himself to the fighting game community in case people didn't know who he was. He is a very strong CVS 2 player we got up here. Now what's in store for 2026? Hopefully more tournaments. We'll be running more tournaments. For example, I was talking about Genesis X3 will be running in a couple of months. That's going to be another good one. And hopefully we'll do Texas again. We have to work out things with them and talk to them. And maybe even I'll try to go to EVO. I'm going to try to see if we can run some tournaments at EVO and stream them or at least record them. Mostly CVS 2. So hopefully I'll have that in the bag for 2026. As for content, I'll try to continue to make the beginner series 101 helpful videos for helping people get into the genre and playing the games. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. What kind of content that you prefer to see that's helpful to you, I'll try to make those, listen to what people want. And as for playing the games, of course I'm going to keep playing Alpha 3 and CVS 2 because they require a lot of practice and hopefully get better at them. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm really getting good at all. I keep losing, especially to Riz, but I'll keep playing them and maybe I'm getting better. We'll see. And maybe I'll start playing VSAV. I know Riz has been telling me to play in VSAV. He's been really getting into that game. And that seems like a fun game to pick up and just play. And maybe that'll be the game for 2026. We'll see. I don't know. But I'm really excited for what next year brings for me. And that's the recap for 2025 for this channel. Thanks for sticking around with me, guys. Thanks for watching, supporting the channel. Leave a like or a comment below. And I'll see you guys in the next video next year, probably.